Welcome to Museum Week 2022. My name is Benjamin Benita. I'm the head of the French non-profit organization called Culture for Causes Network. I'm very happy to welcome you today. Just a brief introduction about the reason to be of this 9th edition. First of all, we thank our partners and support, which are UNESCO and Talkwalker. Let me explain why we decided to address the theme of innovation, culture, and social impact. First, let's face it, we live in a hyper-connected, hyper-globalized world in which, fortunately, unfortunately, never mind, consciousness are forged online. Hopes, despairs, everything is shaped online today. Your horizons, your dreams are shaped online. And especially for the young audiences. It's a fast-changing world, and at the same time, we're facing major challenges. You name it: environment, violence, hate speech, etc. What we believe at the Culture for Causes Network is that the cultural organizations have a fundamental role to play in this complex situation. They have the know-how to address complex subjects and bring them to the general audience. They have the know-how to enlighten minds with knowledge. They know how to prepare minds for all the complexity that we are facing. They give keys to understand the world, to read the world. Actually, we think them as friendly companions, right? They accompany us, you know, in the trip on the digital world, sorry. So this is they can help to build more, resilient societies. You know, how do we deal with all the complexity today? Museums, galleries, archives, science centers, music centers, etc. So this is the reason to be of Museum Week 2022. And let me also add this: Museum Week is not only an event; it's a community, as you know. So just to make it more concrete, we will soon be launching a membership program for cultural institutions. So it will be an official community, and we will invite you to join it and to be official members of Museum Week. Let's start now, if you agree with that, to welcome our guest, our first guest of this year, Mrs. Könül Rəfiyeva. She's the head of International Cooperation Department of the Azerbaijan National Museum of Art in Baku. Is that correct, Konul?
Exactly, that's correct.
Okay, so you're based in Baku, you're a cultural manager, you're interested into cultural legacy, organization of art projects for territorial development. I mean, all the themes, all the ingredients of Museum Week 2022 are really in your horizon: culture, innovation, social impact. Can you give us in 1 minute just who you are? What is your trajectory? How did you arrive at the museum?
Yeah, sure. Firstly, it's my big honor to be one of the first your guests and to be with you, with your team in Museum Week 2022. And I, as you have mentioned it, we will be one of your first membership program participation, I hope. And I am, during these few years, working with different projects of culture diplomacy, as well as territorial development through culture tourism, museum work, and transformation of museums to locations of creative industries. So this is really an intersection of different trends or tandems of our new world, and especially the last years, because of COVID, developing social and digital art, social media and digital art, collections, which is also in my priority from the last 1 year.
Excellent, thank you. So we are here to talk about classicism and modernism. So let's start with the classicism. And what's the reason to be of the Azerbaijan National Museum of Art? What is its core mission? What is his reason to be?
As well as Azerbaijan is enough young country with the history of museum work, which is a bit more than 100-year history, and the National Museum of Azerbaijan started its history from 1936. Sorry, 36. So it was one little room with collection and showpiece artifacts. And from now, becoming the first and the richest Azerbaijan and regional museum with more than 20,000 showpieces and artifacts.
20,000, right?
Because the reason of, as all classic museum, it is conservation, preservation, conservation, and social information, educational projects with public, but as well as with last years, the development of museum work, and the museum became the place of meeting of people, you know, and as well as it became the place to experimentals of modern art. I mean contemporary art. So artists giving platform, opportunity to reflect with the new formats of art.
Mm-hmm. But the main reason to be is the initial reason to be is very traditional, connected to the very deep definition of a museum: to preserve, to conserve, and to exhibit to the public.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean this is very interesting because it's I mean this is the core mission, of course, and
yes.
Then technology is coming.
Sure, exactly.
and what's interesting is to see how technology is changing.
Yeah,
maybe
exactly, to show, to be example how to combine traditional with modern, with technologies, with new.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's exactly it. So, by the way, let me just, I mean, when you speak about classicism of museums, you know, personally, I think that museums, you know, is a relationship, you know, in space and time between people and visitors, right? The museum is open from this time to this time and in this place. But with the digital, this definition is changing. We know that ICOM, you know, is dealing, you know, hardly with this. So let's continue in this direction. So what are your priorities with the collection of the museums? I mean, to display them, of course. I mean, with regular programs, I assume.
Yeah, and the museum had a big restoration work finalized in 20 years, just before 1 month before starting of COVID. So that's why we were not a bit lucky to be opened with our new restored building, historical building, as well as new exposition for public. But it is the work which is now concentrated. It is not only to preserve and to show collections that we have. We have a big, rich, really collection of European art, as well as Eastern Europe and Central Europe, and as well as Asian countries and other regions. As Baku is in intersection of Europe and Asia, it was a very interesting place when different cultures were meet actually. So it's not just the museums collections to be conserved and just exhibited as well as they are. Also to serve kind of inspiration source to new generation of artists, to new generation of public, to reflect, to create, recreate, and rediscover the history, cultural heritage, and the social, you know, projects, and as well as the interaction, you know, with new technologies. So we have tried it. We had organized it 18 May. 1 month just ago, the Museum Night, the new Muzey, within the framework of International Museum Day celebrated by ICOM as a museum. It was exactly around the collections of museum. So we created the new technologies with the help of new technologies, digital format, digital presentations, new presentations of the work which are in the collection of museum, to show them in a different way to public, to audience, as well as to give the source of recreating, rediscovering to Azerbaijan artists, local artists, that they could you know, they discover history, the history of art, the collections, the museums, and different things. Yeah.
And did you ever, just by curiosity, did you ever, you know, offer the possibility to hack your collections? I mean, by modern artists? Is it something that you would consider? I'm just thinking, I mean, not many museums in the world did that. I mean, what I have, the one that I have in mind is the Rijksmuseum in the Netherlands. You know, they built the Rijksstudio, they digitized the whole collection, and they said, it's yours. So I know that a lot of museums are thinking about it, don't know how to do it, and or don't dare to do it, or say it's not the right moment. And how do you modernize your collection and interact with the artists or the audiences? Is it something that you already did?
I should say it is enough a new direction priority of the museum work. As I told, it was restored just 2 years ago, and later the COVID was blocked all work, as you know, everywhere. And now we are coming back to our priorities and identifying them. So digitization of museum collection, it has done already, but it is still conserved in museum storage, in museum, you know, technologies, equipments, very seriously, strictly. So very few people had access to this, even me. It's just, you know, with special permission. So that's why it is really interesting and actual questions, how the artists could work with museum collection if they had not really access, but how to give them access.
Yes, that's it.
Then it can become something uncontrollable and chaotic. It's kind of topic to have compromise, but to find out this compromise, still to find out.
Yeah. I have another question for you, Könül. What role do digitization, sorry, and environmental issues play in the activities of your museum? I mean, what those components, those two components, environmental issues, digitization, how do you take this into account into the activities of the museum?
You know, I mean, digitization. It was created and it began his existence in other parts of the world, in Europe, in the United States, is enough still years ago, and it was very reactivated during the COVID. And the people, once again, they were obliged, as all cultural institutions, to learn how to exist in digital reality or in digital format. And that's why it gives a much of, you know, the punch to try to find the new formats of being, of showing, of preserving, of creating. The same for museum. That's why I have proposed, and we are developing the issues that, okay, we have collection, okay, you have collection, we can organize the temporary exhibition, we can organize the mobile exhibition, we can show them, but anyway, we will stay in limited audience and public. We will never could be able to show everything or everywhere or everyone, and in every format. So digital format is really something which is making the formats and the frontiers open, no limits, no really restrictions. So it is really very useful format. But of course, the traditional museums had the difficulty to go to this digitalization because they didn't know how. Or they know, but there is the topic, like you said, you know, access of collections, the preservation of collections. So that's why it is a bit, I think, new direction in whole world for museums and new challenge for us.
Interesting. And just by curiosity about the environment issues, how do you, what are the policies of the museum in terms of environmental issues? This is a new topic. Every museum, you know, is trying to see how to to propagate the topic and to integrate the topic in its own policies. Do you have something to share about that? I mean, particular things, interesting things to know about how do you deal with that, or?
I know that. So I am working myself as an independent cultural manager with this topic. It is 2 years already, and it was always taking my mind due to events happening in whole world, and analyzing, reflecting, and trying to find the same answer in our local context. And because we are as a country also enough sensible to this issue of environment. And now this year, one of the museum challenge by ICOM was identified the environmental issues as a digitization and educational issues. And we have tried to interact to anticipated our local as well as international artists which are working on around this topic. Some of them are gender and environmental issues, so they're trying to develop the projects, art projects. The women are in environment, how and why, and I must say that it is interesting topic for us because the museum had a rich collection of, for example, textile work. And yes, of different cultures. And if we think of really environment in scientific meaning of this word, so we can think that the role of women in Azerbaijan was the leading in textile. Okay, it is big history to tell you now. I'm not boring you. We have a limited time, but so we are trying to see now how we can anticipate the women artists, female artists, and working with environment as well as a museum, how we can become the platform to meet all these factors, key actors together.
Interesting. So, I mean, it's a way to raise awareness, to change minds, and to change the narratives on this topic,
exactly.
Right? By bringing the communities with you.
Exactly.
Which what I find interesting here is that it is beyond your native reason to be that we explore at the beginning. And you probably heard about this movement that came from the States, I think, the United States, I think, was museums are not neutral. I mean, I see here perfect example of action where the museum extended and is part of the society. It's part of the preoccupation, the challenges of the world, which is very, very interesting way to, by the way, because all the time, we think, oh, innovation, we're going to do metaverse. But innovation for social impact and culture is not necessarily high-tech.
Exactly.
It's to innovate the practices.
Exactly.
And this is a very, very, very strong, very highlighting example that you gave us. So that's very interesting, Konul. Thank you very much. I would like to ask you a last question, which is more a generic question. Besides the Azerbaijan National Museum of Art, what's your favorite museum in the world? Okay, you can name 3, you can name 1, you can name 2, whatever. But yeah, please let us know.
I love, I think it is more a classical answer. I will not tell it, but I love the model of Louvre Museum, where I have been a few times. The modernity as well as classicism, traditional, combination of these expositions. But my favorite is Guggenheim Museum, of course, as a role model of how to our days the museum could be for me, because museum is not the place. Even for us, sometimes we are inviting people, they are telling, oh, sorry, I have no time to come to go museum. It's just museum. But the Guggenheim, it is a role model how museum could exist and how many benefits, economical benefits it could bring as an image of your country, as a social work, as contemporary art, and this is really brilliant work exams. we had it.
Sorry,
few years ago in Azerbaijan had propositions to have one of Guggenheim Museum in Azerbaijan,
oh, really?
but unfortunately they couldn't go on, and so I have been in Guggenheim at Bilbao in France, so maybe I have opportunity to go in the United States.
In Spain, yes. Yes, I mean, the Louvre exported itself also abroad. We also have, you know, big brands here, big museums that exported themselves in France. The Louvre itself, you know, is in a small city in France called Metz. Small city, sorry. It's not the capital city. And the Centre Pompidou also exported itself.
J'adore. Yeah.
In French in the text, in the speech. So yeah, I like this idea also of you know, exporting. You know, it's a tool for bringing culture, dynamizing cultural exchange, economical exchange, brings development. It's a very interesting tool also for soft power, I think, and diplomacy, cultural diplomacy. So museums are definitely worth it. It might be the last word of our talk, Konul. I'm very happy that we had this talk. So this will be available in replay, of course. Thank you very much, and we'll stay tuned.
Thank you, and I hope I will have opportunity to have more long conversation and developing of our partnership together or networking of Wizard. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Konul. Bye, everyone. Bye. Thank you very much for attending this first conversation.
Thank you.
Bye.